Alrighty, you guys. I'm back. I hope I'm back. Sorry, y'all, it took so long, but I had to go get my old computer, and it takes my old computer a long time. That's the reason I got the new computer, so I would not be taking all this time to get set up. And I was set up early. Well, oh well. But we're back. Day 40. Well, day 39 is today. Day 40 is tomorrow. And we're jumping in. All right. So I briefly forgot what I was talking about, but that's okay. Like the video, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things, follow, depending on whatever platform you following me on or joining me on, do all the things that you should do for that platform, and we would appreciate. Okay. We're gonna jump back in. What I was saying was, I remember it now. You don't have to give up on the 40th day. Well, I did my 40 days and that's it. It's kind of like being in a health journey. Just because you work out for 30 days doesn't mean you don't work out on the 31st day or you don't start the next month. I gave myself 365 days to work out from August the 1st of 2024. We're now in February the 12th. And in all the days that have passed between August the 1st and February the 12th, I've only missed, I think it's 8 days, but I just say 10 just to give myself, just so I'm not under calculating, because I don't remember. I know I was sick a couple days, and then I just forgot one day. I was so tired, and I just went to bed, and it didn't even cross my mind. But I got right back up the next day and I got back on it. So my plan is to be at 255 days at the end of the year, which is August 1st of 2025, that I've worked out every single day. What I've noticed in the working out is that my body has changed. I have lats coming. So if you can look, you should see this little line of demarcation on this side of my neck. I have one on the other side. And if I hold my neck just right, you can see those muscles right here are called lat muscles, right? And they're coming not because I want them there. I actually don't think they're very attractive or ladylike. However, because of the workouts that I do, my body is changing and it's becoming more defined. The reason I mention that is because the more you work on your marriage, the more redefined it becomes, the more you can actually see the definition in your marriage. I don't have abs. It's no possible way at this moment in my life that I have abs. They're in there somewhere, but I don't physically see them. But I know they're under there. And I know if I keep working it out long enough, eventually they're going to show. Actually, what I can tell is outside of my flab, right? That line where the abs should be, it is very much there. But I'm working against all the elements. I'm working against all the things I did to my body before I started this continuum working out. I worked out before, but never every day. And people are like, Shakema, you need a rest day. No, I don't. I've rested enough. I do take down days where I don't lift, like Thursday's a non-lifting day. I'll walk or I'll do the treadmill or, I'll do something. But now is the time to put into practice all the things I've learned since I started working out. And it's not just going to the gym. Well, if I go to the gym without a plan, then I'm just in the gym looking at other people working out, figuring out what I'm supposed to be doing, and I waste too much time. The same is true for your marriage. If you go into your marriage without a plan, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what the goals and the visions and the dreams are for the marriage. You have no strategy. You have nothing. Then you actually just pretty much waste time looking around trying to figure out what you're going to do in your marriage, which we should have already been learning things. So my marriage is very valuable to me, and I need to make sure that I am working it out. I'm doing what I need to do. Not only do I go to the gym, but now I have to couple my nutrition with my workouts. So I can't have 3 slices of cake and 4 cookies and 3 pies. I can't have any of those things. I can have chopped salad. That's what I had for dinner tonight. I can increase my protein intake. That's on the list as well. I can get my water in. So what is it that goes in your marriage that you need to be working on? There's more than one thing. And so I don't want us to get comfortable. Well, I've done my 40 days and I've done my due diligence. Well, we're actually just getting started, because now you're really a new you, and this new you has to really begin to be introduced to the old spouse. And then what you hope and pray is that this new you can draw out a new spouse, or at least the spouse that you know is in there. You just can't see them yet. So let's not get weary and well doing in this marriage thing, right? I know you don't have to read the book every day anymore, if you even read it in the first place. But why not? Why wouldn't you? This can make an excellent devotional. If you can't find another devotional, this makes an excellent devotional. Just read it every day. Take a few more notes every day. Self-reflect every day. How can I be better for my spouse? What can I do better for this household? What can I do better for our marriage? What can I do better for our children? How can I serve my spouse? And those are the questions that we continue to ask ourselves every single day, because marriage, when we got married, we covenanted till death do us part. And if they're not going anywhere, then you're going to continue to be with that person and continue to learn and continue to grow, or you're not. And you're going to have a consequence either way. Day 40. Oh, let's just review. Did I review day 39? I didn't. Let me go back and review day 39 really quickly. Day 39, love endures. Spend time in personal prayer, then write a letter of commitment and resolve to your spouse. Include why you are committed to this marriage until death, and that you have purposed to love them no matter what. Leave it in a place that your mate will find. It. Anybody do your letter? Here's some questions. What are some of the hesitations you had in writing your letter? How do you expect your spouse to respond to this letter? And how did God help you in writing it? And what did the process teach you about yourself? Were some of you apprehensive about writing the letter? Because perhaps your spouse thought everything was all good in the marriage. And here you are writing to say, hey, I'm committed to this till death do me part. It's like, well, you wasn't committed the day before yesterday. Like, what happened between then and now that you got to write this letter that you're committed? And then you may have to reveal, hey, well, I've been doing for the last 40 days, I've been doing this thing called the love dare. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that some people have a fear of rejection. Most of us do, because what I'm doing towards you, you may not accept. So you have to ask yourself those questions. What if your spouse doesn't care about the letter that you painstakingly wrote, that you sat down and you went to the Lord in prayer and you say, God, help me write this letter? For those of us that are single, this is for my single ladies. I have written letters to my spouse even before he comes. My plan is to give him a book of letters on the night before our wedding, or, on our honeymoon, so that he can see the process of what I went through trying to ready myself for our union together. And so even though you don't have a spouse personally to write to, you could write to your spouse future saying, hey, I commit to this. This is what I commit to. And then when you find that person, you're able to go back and look at that letter and say, oh, right, I remember I wrote this down. So don't feel like we're excluded because we don't have spouses. We're working towards what we're asking God for. Now, tomorrow is your final day, day 40. We are at day 40, y'all. Can you believe it? Woo. Celebrate. Day 40. Day 40 is an apology day. Absolutely, right? Because we all process differently, right? And I know that it's been some of the 15 years, a lot of it has been a struggle. Just being single and seeing everybody else get married and maybe not even get married, but get a boyfriend. Honey, some people I know have had 2 and 3 and 4 boyfriends in the 15 years I've been single. And I'm like, Lord, how they get multiple people and I don't even get one person? And so I wanted to chronicle what it was like for me trusting God and waiting and praying and continuing to stay on the wall, even though I don't see anybody coming afar off. But I remember the father who waited for the prodigal son. He sat there and he waited. And every time he saw a little speck on the wind, he thought it was his son. And so that's kind of what I've been doing, is just kind of sitting and waiting, but not just, not living. I'm living as well. And then there is a point in life when you do wake up and you start to live, and you want to share that as well. I want my heart, my hope, my prayer is that when my husband finds me or we find each other, when the Lord does what the Lord told me, that he will see that I'm living, that I have lived, that I plan to keep on living, that I've had a good life, even though he wasn't here yet. And who I am now plans to couple with him, and we do what God called us to do in the earth until we both leave this place. And so that's kind of where I live, in that headspace. And I think it's good to just write things down, right? I do. Okay. All right. Your source verses are Ruth 1:16. And even though Ruth said this to Naomi, her mother-in-law, I believe that this is what we can say to our spouse, husband or wife. Where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. And I find myself, for unknown reasons, I guess, I'm not even sure why, becoming emotional behind that. And I don't know why, but that is something that I do want to say. Okay, I'm gonna have to read that later. Child, they got so many things coming. Okay. I want to be able to say to my spouse, where you go, I will go. My daughter asked me something today. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for reminding me. The Lord gave me a word several years ago. And he said to me, Shakema, when your husband comes, you are to take nothing with you. Nothing. He said, when your husband comes to take you away from here, when he comes for you, don't take anything. He said, all you're supposed to take are your clothes and the dogs. My kids, if Jackson is still at home, sister, whatever. He said, but if he tells you to leave your clothes, leave them too. And I believe that with my whole heart, with my entire whole heart. And Jackson said, Alana said to me today, she said, Mom, can I ask you a question? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, are you sure? She said, so you're telling me that when your husband comes, you're not taking anything with you? I said, but the Lord told me not to. He said, don't take anything. He said, Shakema, open up your home and just let people come and take what they want. I said, but can I even sell it, Lord? Hey, ma'am. He said, no, let people take what they want. He says, where I'm sending you, there's already provision made. And I either believe the Lord or I don't. So when my husband comes, for me to be able to say to him, where you go, I will go. And where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Like, I mean that in my whole heart. My grandmother used to say, if I sleep in the ditch, you in the ditch. But we gonna be together. That's what she was saying. Wherever I am, she say, if I eat dirt, you were gonna eat dirt. But we gonna be together. Whatever we doing, we're together. And I want that commitment and covenant, not just commitment, but covenant to my spouse. And I thank the Lord that he's given me a heart to want to do that, because some people would not. Some people are like, this is all my stuff. I work hard for this stuff. There's nothing in this house that's not replaceable. Nothing. Almost everything was either thrifted or given to me when my kids and I were first starting out. He said, Shakema, why would you drag half used stuff in a U-Haul to the new place that I'm sending you where there's already provision. And I said, Lord, you know what? That just settles it for me. You either trust the Lord with your marriage or you don't. You either trust the, because if I can't trust the Lord with that little bit, what else can I not trust him with? Have I not been able to trust him all this far? And I think that begs the question for most of us. If I can't trust my trust the Lord with my spouse, what can I trust the Lord with? Your other source verses, that was Ruth 1:16. 1 John 1:8, Romans 12:18, Matthew 18:21 and 22, and James 5:16. Let me read those because I don't want to be here long. And it took me a long time to get started, and I'm sorry anyway. I didn't mean to have that glitch in the other computer, but such are things. 1 John 1:8. 1 John 1:8 says, if we boast that we have no sin, we're only fooling ourselves and are strangers to the truth. My grandmother said, you a lie and the truth ain't in you. Remember, that's what I told you. Romans 12:18. Romans chapter 12, verse 18. And we've read some of these verses so often that you all should be knowing them by now. Beloved, do not be obsessed with taking revenge, but leave that to God's righteous justice. For the scripture says, oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, do your best to live as everybody's friend. That's 18. Do your best to live as everybody's friends. Another translation to say, do your best to be at peace with people. Matthew 18:21. Matthew 18. Later, Peter approached Jesus and said, how many times do I have to forgive my fellow believers who keeps offending me? 7 times. And Jesus answered, not 7 times, Peter, but 70 times, 7 times. And then James 5:16, one of my favorite books of the Bible, probably my favorite book of the Bible is James. James 5:16. Confess and acknowledge how you have offended one another, and then pray for one another to be instantly healed. For tremendous power is released through the passionate, heartfelt prayer of a godly believer. A different translation says the fervent, effectual prayer of the righteous avails much. So here we are, right? I'm going to make a commitment to my spouse. When am I committed? I'm committed when they offend me. I'm committed when they don't do what I want them to do. I'm committed when they overspend our accounts. I'm committed when we have to file chapter 13. I'm committed when they go out and have an affair. I'm committed. I am committed to this relationship no matter what comes my way, because I'm not just making a contractual agreement. I'm making a covenant before the Lord. A covenant is an agreement between you and your spouse in the eyes of God, in the sight of God. We have signed on this dotted line. We have said, hey, I'm not getting out of this. There is no getting out. We are staying in, right? He likens this. He says, congratulations, you reached the end of the love dare, the book at least. But the experience and challenge of loving your spouse, your mate, is something that never comes to an end. It goes on for the rest of your life. This book may end at day 40, but who says that the dare has to stop again? He says, as you view your marriage relationship from this point on, we challenge you to embrace it as a covenant instead of a contract. Those two words sound similar, but they're not the same. A contract can be broken with the agreement of both mutual parties. If you say, hey, I want out and they want out too, okay, we can now null and void. It's all over with. A covenant is not so easily broken. Back in Bible times, in order to seal a covenant, most people, the two parties would either cut themselves, and then they would rub something in the wound so that when they always looked at that wound or felt that wound or saw the scar, they would remember that they had covenanted with the other person, and that was binding. It was legally binding. It was not breakable. It was what it was. Most people got married because of covenant. I want to be in this particular group, so we're going to have all of our daughters marry all your sons, because I don't want to be in covenant with nobody else. I want to be right over here. The question on the floor is, so was this a 40-day challenge to get you closer to opening up for your spouse when he comes and understanding the concept of a covenant relationship? I think the book was intended for married people. It was not necessarily intended for those who are single. This was for those people who are already in a committed covenant relationship to bring newness, to bring life into those relationships that may have become dull over time, to bring newness in life into each spouse that may have become dull and lifeless over time. Because some people go from being husband and wife to roommates, and that was not God's intention in marriage. And so it was really to revive the marriage. I've used it to actually help me know how to love my spouse when he comes, because everybody can practice patience, and everybody can practice kindness, and everybody can practice not being offended, and everybody can practice not being selfish, and everybody can practice being thoughtful. So every specific day in here is something that I can practice as a individual person. It doesn't just have to be to my spouse, especially if I'm not married. I can practice it with other people, just kindness. The title of the book is called The Love Dare. It's by the Kendrick brothers, Alex and Stephen Kendrick. Hey, Dwayne, good to see you. It's called The Love Dare. That's the name of the book. If you go online and type in the Love Dare PDF, you can actually find it. Somebody's put it online, and you can just scroll, like they scan the pages or something. I'm not saying that's legal or what, but I'm just saying I found it that way before. But I got somebody sent me this one, but my last one, 2 books I got from Amazon. I marked them up so much, then I have to get a new one after a certain amount of time. But this for me is definitely, because this is my 3rd time leading you all through, and I've done it 3 times on my own. See, one of the things about being married is I'm not waiting to get married to practice marriage. I'm already practicing now as I wait for my covenant spouse to show up. And so if I've done this 6 times and I'm not able to pull out anything from this when they come, then I've wasted 640 days. So 240 days I've wasted reading this book and trying to apply the principles. What I'm doing now is applying these principles in my everyday life so that when my spouse comes, he gets the best version of me, because I am crafting myself. I'm praying and asking the Lord to mold me into what my spouse needs. I was actually chatting with someone earlier today, and I had to make that, I had to throw that caveat in there. I said, now you know what your husband likes, because your husband may not be the same as my husband. My husband may enjoy something your husband doesn't, but that's the beauty in marriage. The beauty is getting to know your person specific, and then catering to their needs, their likes, their wants, whatever makes them happy. And so I'm learning that early, so that when my spouse comes, I'm looking for cues. He said something and that was important. I need to listen. I need to take a note here. I need to make sure that I am always mindful of the things he likes, he doesn't like, of the things that we enjoy doing together, the things that I don't enjoy versus what he doesn't enjoy. So I'm just it's all a practice for me as a single woman, but for all the married couples, because they actually have a person in the home. You are now in the classroom. This is practical application. This is homework. You just come and sit with the teacher for a few minutes during the day, but you have homework. And you actually get to do these dares towards your spouse. And how do you respond when they don't respond favorably back? That's a real place that people find themselves in, because I'm giving all this time. I'm doing all this investment. I know well enough about investments that when I put my money in a place, I expect to get something back. And if I don't get anything back, I don't put my money there. Well, my spouse not giving me anything back, I get it. But sometimes you do have to till the ground. You have to till the ground. You have to pluck up the weeds. You have to fertilize. You have to start seeds. Y'all, I started seeds And I would say the majority of the steeds I started sprung up, but they were what they call leggy, right? They hadn't gotten enough light. I didn't have the right resources in my grow room at the time. I didn't have enough grow lights. I didn't have the proper watering system and all that. Do you know I had to throw all that out and start over? I started to get flies or those little soil gnats. There was some type of fungus in my soil. I didn't use the right soil to begin with. So I had to go back to the drawing board. I had to put more money in. I had to put more money in. I had to take everything apart, take out all the bad stuff, put all the new stuff in, and it's finally starting to germinate for me. So I feel like going through this, especially for those of you who are married, is I think it's well worth the effort. I think it's worth the effort. Okay, let me see what he says in here. A contract is usually a written agreement based on distrust. Oh, this was good. This was good. He says a contract is usually a written agreement based on distrust, outlining the conditions and consequences if broken. So I'm going to drop this contract because I don't trust you to keep your word. So I'm going to have you sign this piece of paper that says, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you're going to have to pay me X, Y, and Z amount of money. He says a covenant is a verbal commitment based on trust, assuring someone that your promise is unconditional and good for life. If it is spoken before God out of love for one another, it is spoken before God out of love for one another. I'm promising you, I'm giving you my word, and my word is as good as my bond here. I'm not going to break my word. And that's a covenant agreement. I think you should. And here's the thing. Let me just say this, Maria. If for some reason it's not perfect, guess what? You can always do a do-over, right? But give it a try, because who's to say it will not produce a good harvest for you? The very first year I gardened, and I likened it unto gardening, I think I might have grew 2 or 3 tomatoes, a couple peppers. The next year, when I tried it again, we had the best abundant harvest crops we could have ever had. And the subsequent years have been good as well. So give it a try. Give it your best. Put your due diligence in. And I promise, even if you don't see, thank you, Holy Spirit, even if you don't see any changes in your spouse for 40 days, even if I don't see any changes in my spouse, you should begin to see changes in you. That's the point, is to begin to see changes in me. I want to see changes and hope to see changes in my husband, but I might not. And remember, you married that person. So don't come for them. Oh, he's supposed to be this and she's supposed to be that. No, baby, you married them. Pre-saved, whatever the situation was. So you got what you got. But now you're going to have to do some back work. For those of us who are single now, for those of us who are single by whatever means, maybe you lost a spouse, I'm divorced, maybe you've never been married, whatever. We have such an opportunity now to really go in with our eyes wide open. While I do care what he looks like, I'm really looking at what he looks like, right? His physical features are important to me, as well as I hope my physical feet, maybe they're important to him. I'll do my best. I'm getting his hair done on Friday. Don't worry. We about to be back to what we was back to. I hope that I look the way he wants me to look, but I really hope that he can look past my physical features and look at the inside of who I am, right? That's who I want somebody to marry. I want them to marry who I am on my inward self, not my outward self. Because in 2025, it's too many things out here to make people look good, right? I can buy hair. I can buy boobs. I can buy behind, honey, these BBWs and BBLs and all these other letters. I can buy all that. But you cannot buy a gentle spirit. You can't buy demure. You can't buy that. You can't buy character. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. I wasn't always that. You are looking at a living, breathing, true miracle of the hand of God working on my life. And I believe honestly, it took me losing my marriage, my first marriage, and falling at the altar and just being there. I was on the altar for 3 years. I actually laid on the altar for 3 years, and I just told people, leave me alone. Let me stay here. Nothing is wrong. Me and God just got to work this thing out. And God began to do some things in me. And my prayer for the last, I would say for the last 9 years has been, gentle my spirit, Lord, gentle my spirit, Lord, gentle my spirit, Lord, because I don't come from a gentle family. I don't come from a gentle background. There was always chaos and turmoil in my household when I was growing up. And I was determined that my children would never have that. And I was determined, after my ex-husband had some experiences with that in the beginning with me, that my new spouse would never have that with me. I do not want my husband to experience who I was. I want him to experience who I am. And so that's what happens when you take these resources and those words and the scripture that is alive and is powerful and is sharper than any two-edged sword. And it cuts me at times. I'm like, oh, Jesus, I just failed that test miserably. Better take it again, because I want him to see me and love me for who I am. And I want to love him for who he is. Okay, let's finish this thing right strong, y'all. Okay. He talked about several major covenants in the Bible, right? God never, what the whole point of this particular day is to know that God never broke his covenant, not one time. God made a covenant with Noah, promising never to destroy the world with floods again. That was in Genesis 9:12 through 17. He made a covenant with Abraham, who was not having any babies at his age, that an entire nation of descendants would come from his family line. That was in Genesis 17:1 through 8. I mean, you is 100 if you a day. And now the Lord is saying that you're going to have so many descendants, they'll be as stars in the sky sand on the beach. And you like, man, I'm old. My wife is old. What you mean? He made a covenant with Moses, declaring that the people of Israel would be God's permanent possession. That's Exodus 19:3-6. And he made a covenant with David, promising that the ruler would sit on his throne forever. That was in 2 Samuel 7:7-16. Ultimately, he made a new covenant by the blood of Christ, establishing an unending, unchanging legacy of forgiven sins and eternal life for those who believe in him. That's according to Hebrews 9:15. Never once has God broken any of his covenants. And I just wrote in my book as a note to myself, if God doesn't break his covenant, and we're created in his image according to Genesis chapter 1, 26, 7, and 8, why do we break ours? We don't have to break ours. I think I mentioned this last night. You can be in love with your spouse forever. You can be on a perpetual honeymoon forever. You just have to purpose that in your heart, and then you work towards that. But here I am breaking my word because it's not looking the way I think it should. He's not responding the way I think he should. He's not catering to me the way I think he should. But I'm doing this as unto the Lord. My spouse receives what I'm doing, but I'm doing what I'm doing as unto the Lord, just like I'm serving God. Well, my husband ain't a God, and I get that. I understand that. But I'm serving the Lord by serving my spouse. Jesus came and he said, I did not come to be served. I came to serve. We should be emulating him at every area, in every moment, every day of our lives. If there's somebody who is in need and we can help the need, we should be helping. I'm not saying you're helping everybody. God will tell you who, when, and where, and all those things. If there's a person who, and we're so easy to help everybody else, but we don't even help our spouses. Like, how is that a thing? You prayed for this man. You prayed for this woman to come into your life. And now they're here, and you do what? You don't have time for them. They don't have time for you. Y'all live in separate lives. I think that people say this, right? This is like, it's diabolical to have a spouse and y'all live separately. Then stay separate. What do you mean? I heard somebody say this. She lives on the West Coast. Her husband lives on the East Coast. She said he has his life and I have mine. And I'm single. Okay. Very good. It's not for me. I don't know. You have to ask the Lord what he wants for your life. He talks about those covenants, and then he says, and then there's marriage, the strongest covenant on earth between two people, the pledge of a man and woman to establish a love that is unconditional and lasts a lifetime. In marriage, your wedding ring represents your covenant vow, not merely commitments you hope to keep, but premeditated promises spoken publicly before God and witnessed by others. You've determined, you've set it up. You said, I, Shakema, take you, husband, to be my lawfully wedded, to have and to hold, in rich and poor from this day forward, in sickness and health. All the words, whether you wrote your own or you had them old ones read, whatever. I agree to obey. Whatever you said, then you got to keep your word. You got to keep your promise, because God is faithful to keep his promise. He is very faithful to keep his promise. Okay. Here's what I thought was really good as well. He says every marriage is called to be an earthly picture of God's heavenly covenant with his church. It is to reveal to the world the glory and beauty of God's unconditional love for us. Jesus said, as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. John 15:9. Let his words inspire you to be the channel of love for your spouse. So my marriage should actually be a physical representation of how Jesus loves his bride, the church. Right? So whenever I have an opportunity to show forth love to my spouse, why do I not? When I have an opportunity to honor my spouse, why do I not? I still keep looking at a lot of these social media people, and y'all, it's dangerous work out here being done with these people and these trends, and disrespecting your spouses online and pranking them and doing all this other stuff. And you causing unnecessary problems that you don't need to have in your marriage, trying to be viral, trying to be seen. Because before too long, you're going to be on here saying, me and so is getting a divorce. We getting separated. Because I just saw that too. Yeah, we just wanted to let y'all know. And the husband's like, well, we'll keep you updated. And she was like, oh, no, we're not. No, we're not. There's none of your business. Now, before y'all was up here getting at each other for the views. Now you're getting away from each other, and nobody going to be over here viewing anything. So I think it's very deadly. I think it's dangerous to get into how the world views marriage. I'm going to be in love forever. If you don't want to love me forever, then just stay away from me, because I'm going to be in love forever. I'm going to be a honeymooner until I'm 99 and 100 years old. I'm on my honeymoon forever, period. That's my word. I'm sticking with that. You don't have to. If that's not your jam, hey, I'm not your girl. But if it is, I'm going to be your girlfriend, your side chick, and your wife. I'm going to be all that. And we're going to have the best time ever. It's going to be phenomenal being married to me. And I just purpose that in my heart, because not only you're receiving what I'm promising the Lord. Here's another thing that I want to say to you before I get to your dare. Period. Oh, you're welcome, lovely. If you have not watched all of the videos, they are on here on Instagram. And if you don't find them on Instagram, there's a link in the bio to my YouTube channel. All of them are there from the last 3 years. They're all the same. The 40 days, but I've done 3 years worth. So I might've said something different depending, but go back and check them out. But here's the thing. There's something very serious about weddings. Let me say this last thing before I read your dare for tomorrow, because I've already been on here way too long, but I did go to the gym, so I don't have to work out. Praise the Lord. There's a particular part of the wedding ceremony where the officiant, minister, preacher, whatever, will say, there be any just cause, if anyone sees just cause why these two should not be wedded in holy matrimony, let them speak now, forever hold your peace. Right? And then at the end of the wedding, they kind of something similar say, before God and these witnesses. Anytime you sit in a wedding and you're a witness, when that marriage is in trouble, you have an obligation from the Lord to step in and say something. Every time. Y'all keep getting all these invites to weddings and people keep getting divorced, you're to blame as well. I don't go to everybody's wedding. They know not to invite me. Don't invite Shakema. Because if you having issues in your in your marriage, and I'm in here as a witness, I am obligated to say something to you. If you come to my wedding and you see me acting out, you obligated to say something to me, period. Because you stood before the Lord and you said, I agree to hold these two accountable to the vows that they have made to each other before all of us and before you. So when you start getting this stuff in the mail, you better be very careful about who's you want to be a plus one. I don't know them people. I don't know them. I'll take you out after the wedding. Let me pick you up because I am obligated to say something to people if I come to their wedding because I'm a witness. I remember telling my dad was going to marry this couple and I said to him, don't do it. My father's an apostle and a bishop. Right, go figure. And I said, don't marry them. I said, because when this goes bad, you're going to have to explain to the people why it went bad. He did not listen to me. And it went bad. It did. The Lord showed me that very clearly. I said, don't you do it. He did it. He said, well, I can't tell people. You're right. Okay. I have to know you for real. I got to know your life for real. I got to be able to speak into your life if you want me to be that involved. But for me, if I'm not acting right, say something to me. Now, you're there for tomorrow. Please go back and read day 40. And we are coming back tomorrow to briefly go over day 40. And I'm going to give you some best practices and kind of wrap it up for this season. Tomorrow's day 40. Write out a renewal of your vows and place them in your home. My kids and I have we have like a family pledge, a thing that we keep up in our house. I really want to get it big and blown up so that we can put it on the wall so that when people come in, they can read it. It's our commitment to you when you walk in our house, what your experience is going to be. We promise to be kind. We promise to be good to you. We promise to serve. We promise to not act like fools with each other. We promise that you're a part of our family. Every time you walk across that threshold, we want you to be in our space. We invited you here for such. You came in as a friend, and we hope that you leave as family. We hope that you feel so good about being here the first time that you want to come back and repeat the performance again. So it reads kind of a little something like that. But you're going to write those vows and place them in your home. Here's why. Again, go back to Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision and make it plain that those who read it may run with it. I have to read it sometimes. I'm the one that has to read it and run with it. So when I go back and I look at those vows that I said to my spouse, hey, I promise to do this, this, and this, then that helps me check my behavior. Have you done all the things you promised? Have you kept your word? Have you esteemed that man? Have you done what you said you were going to do, Shakema? So we're going to keep it somewhere in our house. Perhaps, if appropriate, you could make arrangements to formally renew your wedding vows before a minister and with family present. Make it a living testament to the priceless value of marriage in God's eyes and the high honor of being one with your mate. So what he's saying here is do a vow renewal. Now, let me tell you this, and I want to give you this as a best practice as well. And we'll probably talk a little bit about this tomorrow. You do not have to spend a whole lot of money on this. It's not about the money you spend. Because a lot of people spent a whole lot of money on their wedding and $0 on their marriage. And that's why they're divorced now and on their third husband. I'm going to commit to you. I'm writing this thing out of my heart. Me and God, we're going to get together and I'm going to say all this time I write my own vows. that the Lord gives me. But I want you to know that I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I mean this with everything that I have in me, that I'm going to do. And you lay it out just like that. This could be a Sunday afternoon. I live at the beach, honey. It ain't nothing for me to take my shoes off and my toes in the sand. And we can stand out there, hold hands and do kumbaya and all that, whatever. I got a huge backyard, 0.33 acres of a yard. It's nothing but grass. We can go outside and I can wear a cute dress and you can wear a cute suit and we just be outside and we renew, because it's not about the wear. It's not about the venue. That's irrelevant. If you can afford it, do it. But that's not the point. The point is to say what you need to say before the Lord and before your family. We're teaching our children how to love before they have an opportunity to love. Because when it's time for them to love, we don't want them to have any pitfalls. We don't want them to have any stumbling blocks. We want them to see what love looks like all the time. We want them to see what covenantal love looks like. We want them to see that no matter how hard it is, no matter what we going through as a couple, as a family, we gonna be together. And not just together because I don't have nowhere to go and it's expensive out here for me to move out. No, I'm together with you because I want to be here. I love every part of you, warts and all. And you need to teach that to your children. All righty, you guys, day 40, you got homework. I encourage you. This is my last thing for best practice. Sit somewhere quietly tomorrow. If you get a few minutes, just take a few minutes, go into your secret place, go into your closet. Honestly, put on some worship music, just something. Just sit a little while with the lover of your soul and then write out the vows to the person who loves your soul, right? You understand what I'm saying? Sit with the Lord and let him tell you what you should be saying to your spouse. And then say that to your spouse, even if it's just you and him or you and her together at some point. Maybe you take a weekend trip. Maybe you take, you're welcome, ma'am. You as well. You just go do something different. And then do something different. All right, you guys, like the video, share, subscribe, follow, whatever platform you're on, do all the things. I'm coming back tomorrow just to review last minute best practices. Don't forget, singles, we're going over God is a Matchmaker first Sunday in March. March the 2nd, I believe it is, 8 p.m. We're going 8 o'clock instead of 9 because I would like to be in the bed early. All righty, y'all. Love you guys. I will see you all the next time I see you all. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, very good. I'm so glad you did. Thank y'all for joining me. Have the best night.